Alright my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and today's build video, my friends, is actually a follow-up to one I posted yesterday, and if you missed that, I will leave a link to it in the video description down below. But to give you a quick summary, I was highlighting a few different ongoing Directive builds because in my opinion, it's still one of the best gear sets in the game. And in the comment section of the video, we were talking about what variation would you use in retaliation in a group, and if you're playing solo, would you use that gear set, would you use something else? Therefore, as we roll into next week, I want to take a few moments and highlight another variation of an ongoing Directive build that I recommend you try out. Not only that, I also want to highlight one of my favorite go-to builds in the game, and that is based around the tipping scales gear set. And as always, I will leave timestamps in the video description, that way you can bounce in between the builds anytime you want. Now, starting with the specialization, we're using Gunner. Doing that for the typical reasons: you get that armor on kill, a reload speed increase. This also gives you access to the Banshee Pulse. You get some extra rate of fire, some extra weapon handling when you're in cover. And always remember, you want to make sure you have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. And I say that because sometimes we use the same template for different builds, and if you don't switch the weapons, you're leaving weapon damage on the table, and you do not want to make that mistake. Now, the first build I'll be showing you today is based around the ongoing Directive gear set. We talked about that gear set in yesterday's video as well. And as you can see, my primary weapon is the blue screen. Now, in the comments section of yesterday's video, a lot of you reached out saying you absolutely love to use this weapon with this gear set. Now, as you can see, this has the talent Disruptor rounds. Shooting an enemy marks that enemy and adds a stack to the agent up to a count of 50. Shooting a marked enemy refreshes the mark and adds stacks to the agent. When you deploy a non-shield skill, you're going to remove all stacks on agent, and all marked targets trigger an effect. Now, depending on how many stacks you have, that's going to dictate what actual effects are triggered. And as you can see at the bottom, this effect will trigger immediately if any marked enemy is killed, so there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to this weapon, but as I said a moment ago, it is still one of the most popular ones in the game. It is incredible for crowd control, especially when you combine it with this gear set. Now, when it comes to your secondary and sidearm, you could really use anything you want. I do recommend, however, using an assault rifle with the talent Sadist on it. For me, I'm using the Lexington. This is still one of my go-to weapons in the game. And I want to once again remind you, you cannot currently farm for the Lexington in the game right now. I promise to bring you a video as soon as you can. But in the meantime, if you use a Police M4 with the talent Sadist, or let's say a Carbine 7, I promise that will still get the job done. Now, moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running a Cheska backpack, the Overdog's gloves, and 4 of the ongoing Directive gear set. Running 4, so we get all of the gear set bonuses: 2 pieces 15% status effects, 3 pieces 30% reload speed, and 4 pieces rules of engagement. Shooting a status affected enemy will apply a mark. Killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon, and half a clip for the agent's active weapon for the rest of the party as well. So what I typically do is when I roll up an NPC, I'm going to hit that Banshee Pulse. That's going to put the enemies under a status effect. And you can see the hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. And that directly coincides with the talent Sadist on our assault rifle and the talent on our backpack. Now, because we are wearing the ongoing Directive body armor, we have access to the talent Parabellum rounds, and that is going to increase the hollow point ammo weapon damage amplification to 50% just for you. Now, for the rest of the party, they still get 20%, but you're going to get 50%. Next, we have the holster and the knee pads, 2 more pieces of the ongoing Directive gear set, which now, my friends, takes us to the gloves, and I'm using the Overdog's gloves. These have the talent Weakest Link that amplifies weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemy currently in combat as per the tier hierarchy. As I've mentioned previously, if you don't have these, you could use the contractor's gloves in the meantime. And I will leave a link to a video I posted a little while back on showing you the best way to get those gloves if you don't have them as yet. Last but not least, my friends, we have the backpack. It's the 1 piece of Cheska. That is going to give us an extra 8% crit hit chance, and you can see I'm using the talent Wicked. Applying a status effect increases total weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds, which is an absolute lifetime in this game. Now, as far as the skills are concerned, I'm using a combination of the Banshee Pulse and the Reviver Hive, just in case things get sideways in retaliation, which can quickly happen. And with that being said, it's going to take us to the second build I'd like to highlight really quick. You can see on screen my primary weapon is now the Pestilence. I need to mention that this is at expertise level 30. It's one of the few weapons in the game where I actually took the time and resources to level up a weapon, because this is probably my favorite one in the game. And as far as the gear is concerned, you can see at this point I've switched to the Tipping Scales gear set, and this is going to be my go-to solo build when I play Retaliation. We are running 4 pieces of this gear set to get all of the bonuses. 2 pieces 30% magazine size, 3 pieces 30% LMG damage, and 4 pieces throttle control. Shooting build stacks to a max of 50. Each stack is going to provide 0.5% weapon handling and 4% crit hit damage. Next, we have the body armor. It's the one piece of unit alloys. We are using the named body armor, the Equalizer. This has the talent Perfect Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 24 times. Next, we have the holster and the knee pads, 2 more pieces of the Tipping Scales gear set. Right after that, we have the gloves, and once again, I'm using the Overdogs. Now, as I said previously, if you don't have these, you could still use Contractor's gloves in the meantime. Finally, my friends, we have the backpack. It is the 4th and final piece of Tipping Scales. Because we're wearing a Tipping Scales backpack, we have access to the talent Snowball, and that is going to increase the crit hit damage received per stack from 4 to 7, so you definitely want to equip this as well. Now, as we make our way to the gameplay footage, I want to mention that in the footage you are about to see, I do not have any global modifiers running whatsoever, and the reason for that is to ensure that whenever you see these builds, you know exactly what it can do without any special events going on. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. On that note, I'm going to leave you with some gameplay footage and a few final thoughts. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your incredible continued support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time, and as I mention at the end of every one of these, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone. Hello once again, my fellow agents. I hope you're doing well on this fine day. Alright, so a few things really quick. As you hear me mention in every build video I post, remember this is just a template. Take your time, make a build your own, all that stuff. And the reason I say that is because you may hate using the blue screen, but you want to use ongoing directive and you want to try it out with the pestilence. That's what I'm doing on screen right now to show you that you have countless variations you can roll with, my friends. So please make sure you take your time and try out different variations and stick with the one you like and just, again, you know, branch out. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think what else. If I'm running solo, I'm doing Tipping Scales, Overdogs. That's just kind of my go-to build in the game. I will use that for pretty much anything. Open world, missions, control points, escalation on the lower tiers. And that actually takes me to a request a lot of you have sent the channel, and that's for me to put together different builds. I use an escalation, and in full transparency, I'm really not playing that game mode right now. When they make certain changes, I will definitely jump in. I've talked about that multiple times in multiple videos. However, one question I can answer for you is a lot of you are wondering what's the fastest and easiest way to farm for prototype gear by playing escalation, and the answer is there isn't one. You know what I mean? And as I say that, the higher tiers do give you a higher drop chance, but I cannot stress enough it all boils down to luck. And the main reason I say that is because I've heard from players saying they farm in the higher tiers, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They have not seen a single piece of prototype gear. And for me, I've only played on like tier 2, maybe 3, and I've gotten about 5 drops so far. So again, it all boils down to luck, and obviously I wish you nothing but the best. And that, my friends, is exactly why I'm playing Retaliation, farming for blueprints, and we're going to go from there. That's all I got for this video. Now, in the gameplay footage you were just looking at, I was using the ongoing directive build, and I was bouncing in between the pestilence and the blue screen just to show you different variations. Right now, we're going to cut to my using the Tipping Scales gear set. Again, this is one of my go-to gear sets in the game. Finally, I want to give a shout out to the crew I was rolling with, Dilly Bob. When I was looking back at the footage, I saw you sent me a message. I did not see it in real time, but the pleasure was all mine, fellow agent. Look, I'm just some fellow nerd who likes to play this game, and I appreciate all of your incredible support. That is going to do it for my part in this video. Thank you once again for everything, and I will see you in the next one.
How did it go? Terrible. They hated my idea. Oh, don't worry. That's not just you. They hate all ideas.
You secured the area. Thank you, Agent.